Thank you, everyone, for joining me this evening. I really appreciate you taking time from your evening to hear my presentation. So, welcome, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Camille, and I have my friends Max, Jim, and Judy with me. I'm going to run through the talk, which is going to take about half an hour. And then the four of us, will be glad to answer any questions that you might have. You can submit your questions using the chat feature on Zoom. So the subject of my talk tonight is what in the world is happening. And I have some information to share with you about global transformations occurring that will touch every aspect of our lives, in the presence of a great being who goes by the name of Maitreya. This is a short introduction to a very big and complex story with many facets. So if you would like to learn more, you can go to share-international.us, and you can also go to the Share International channel on YouTube, where there are plenty of videos. 2020 has been quite an intense year, with the global pandemic that shows no sign of abating, and the outrage and massive protests sparked by the murder of George Floyd by a policeman. These events shine a light on many things. To my mind, the spread of the virus shows the connection that runs through all the people, regardless of country or status. Our efforts to deal with the virus has highlighted how our systems have many shortcomings. It has shown us what our values and priorities are in regard to human life and well-being. There are altruistic people with bold ideas for solutions, and many finding ways to help one another. There are also many examples of those in power enriching themselves now, or showing intransigence and obstruction to those most in need. We see some politicians ignore scientific data and people's safety in favor of the economy and gaining more power for themselves. The massive outrage to Mr. Floyd's murder showed how fed up so many people are with racial injustice and systemic corruption. But before this year, events and crises have been pointing to the same thing for years and decades. The information I have to share, which came my way from the nonprofit group Share International, offers an explanation of current events, but is rooted in a very ancient set of spiritual teachings called the Ageless Wisdom. The Ageless Wisdom has a lot to do with humanity's place in the universe and the bringing about of right human relations here on Earth. These teachings have been released incrementally throughout history over long stretches of time through great historical figures such as Krishna, Buddha, and Jesus. During a recent preparatory phase, a body of esoteric, previously hidden teachings from the Ageless Wisdom were released through a small group of people, including Helena Blavatsky, Alice Bailey, Helena Rurik, and most recently Benjamin Creme, all of whom wrote a series of books detailing the teachings given to them by the Masters of Wisdom who worked with them. All the information that I present today came from Benjamin Creme, the founder of Share International, who in the 1950s was contacted by a Master of Wisdom and subsequently developed a close telepathic rapport with him. A Master of Wisdom is a member of the spiritual kingdom, also known as the spiritual hierarchy, who has gone ahead of the rest of us on the evolutionary path, and in essence has graduated from the human kingdom. Masters are enlightened benevolent, harmless, and wise, with a great scientific understanding of energies and spiritual laws we know very little about. They work within these laws to oversee the evolution of humanity and the lower kingdoms. All of us, through a long series of lives and lessons learned, will eventually become masters. For over 40 years, Benjamin Creme brought a message of hope to the world that another great teacher, named Maitreya, is emerging into the world from his Himalayan retreat to bring the next set of teachings to the whole of humanity. Everything that Mr. Creme said and I say is presented for your consideration only and not intended as dogma. I don't hope or expect you to believe what I am saying. I acknowledge that some of what I say may be foreign to you or differ from your own beliefs, and some of it is prophecy and therefore unprovable. I ask that you try to keep an open mind. Imagine placing all that you know and believe into a bag that you could set down next to you to make room for a different perspective, knowing that full well that at any time you can pick up and resume carrying your beliefs as before. If what I say resonated with you and has the ring of truth, as Benjamin used to say, by all means accept it. The emergence of Maitreya is a very significant event that will bring about sweeping changes to our world in all areas of human activity. Alongside him, a group of masters will also emerge from their retreats into full public service as advisors to humanity. The last time that the masters lived openly among us was 98,000 years ago during Atlantean times. To give you a sense of him, Maitreya was the very first person from the human kingdom on earth to become a master, and he is now the head of the spiritual kingdom and the master of all the masters. As the head, he holds the office or the position of the Christ in the spiritual hierarchy. As the Christ, he embodies the Christ principle or energy of love within himself. This means he has continuous, unconditional love for everyone on the planet. Benjamin Creme described him as a simple man, a brother, a friend, someone who's very humble, who can alert people to the obvious in a simple, straightforward way. Maitreya fulfills the expectations of the major religions for the return of a great teacher, the Christ, the Messiah, the Imam Mahdi, Krishna, and the fifth Buddha. But he is here for all of humanity, religious and non-religious, and really prefers to be thought of as a teacher in the broadest sense. He was not born to parents. Being enlightened and having mastery on all planes of matter, he created his own body out of light, which looks like a normal human being, but is indestructible. His return to the everyday world has been unfolding in phases over the last several decades. His activity since then has included a series of messages given through Benjamin Creme by a process called mental overshadowing, predictions given in the late 80s, numerous appearances to religious gatherings, world leaders, and ordinary people, healings, miracles, and changes to international relations like the end of the Cold War and the end of South African apartheid. Maitreya and the Masters are emerging now for several reasons. One of them is to help us transition from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius. These are great cosmic ages lasting over 2,000 years each, with each age having unique qualities and energies associated with it. When our solar system moves into alignment with any of these the constellations of the zodiac, the societies formed on Earth during that time are influenced by those qualities. The main qualities of Pisces, which we are leaving, are individuality, idealism, and devotion. These qualities have brought us out of the herd mentality from 2,000 years ago to become independently thinking, aspirational individuals, which has been a very important step for us. However, the misuse of these qualities are also responsible for the current fragmentation of humanity. The main quality of Aquarius, which we are entering, is synthesis, an energy that works through groups. Aquarian energy will draw humanity back together, and the hallmark of this age will be unity in diversity. During a transition between two ages, there is an overlapping of the two kinds of energy, and this causes dissonance and chaotic conditions. Our current institutions and structures were all built with Piscean energy. Our schools, healthcare, government, and economic systems are failing. They benefit fewer and fewer people while neglecting and excluding the growing majority. These systems are collapsing because the Piscean energy that built them is diminishing and is no longer strong enough to uphold them. We need to have these systems, but now they must be built with Aquarian energy and reflect the quality of synthesis. The world is now split between people who love and cling to the old ways and people who want to find better ways that can serve the needs of all. With the amount of obstruction and disagreement that people encounter as they try to create fairer systems, it seems dubious whether humanity on its own can make the needed changes before we destroy ourselves and our planet through negligence, violence, and pollution. Maitreya and the Masters are here to help us succeed with this needed change in direction. In Maitreya's 5th message, he said, "My plan is to release into the world a certain teaching which will show men that there exists a new approach, a new way forward into the future time." He's here to show us that world peace is possible and that the key to unlock this is sharing the world's resources more equally around the world. Extreme inequality is a major problem that we have. According to our information, 1/3 of the world usurps and wastes 83% of the world's resources, leaving the other 2/3 of the population to make do with 17%. The UN Food and Agricultural Organization estimates that over 800 million people are chronically malnourished. Humanity has the free will to misuse its power, rig the economic systems, dehumanize others, deny them basic rights and necessities, start wars, and act in all kinds of cruel and oppressive ways. The Masters cannot interfere with our actions because free will is sacrosanct. This is a spiritual law that they must adhere to, and they do. But we are also subject to spiritual laws, and one of them is the law of karma, or cause and effect. When we do something, that sets into motion causes which have effects that ripple out. Through our folly, we have destabilized our world and ourselves. Many have not considered this very deeply, if at all, but we live in a world where everything is connected and intertwined. As humanity goes out of balance, so too does the natural world. The result is erratic weather patterns, natural disasters, and epidemics. This COVID-19 pandemic is not an act of God, but a karmic result of man's inhumanity to man. In order to create peace in the world, we have to create justice. This is the only way that world peace can ever be achieved, through sharing the world's resources equitably around the world. When we share, we create trust. When there is trust, things that are impossible to do without it become possible. Nations would then be able to work out their differences. Maitreya's priorities are correct food, clean water, housing, education, and health care for all of humanity. When everyone has these things, it will be a great relief from stress and suffering. He cannot give us these things, though. We have to be willing to change our ways and push for these things ourselves, but he can help us with that. Maitreya has been galvanizing humanity out of its complacency. The result has been the growing number of people who are taking a stand for justice and human rights and against pollution and climate change. This is what will bring about the needed changes. Mr. Creme's master has said that the voices of the people, raised in unison, will shake the ancient bastions of privilege and power and crumble them to dust. Note how the politicians and institutions have been scrambling this year under the sudden massive pressure to address criminality and racism amongst the police and elsewhere. As the embodiment of the Christ principle, Maitreya pours its energy into the world continuously. It stimulates everything and magnifies the way people are. So if a person is greedy, narrow, competitive, and mean, they become more so. If a person is inclusive, compassionate, fair, helpful, these qualities become more pronounced as well. This is creating a division in the world and a clear, sharp distinction between two opposing lines of action that humanity will have to choose from. This phenomenon is called the Sword of Cleavage. Benjamin Creme explained the Sword of Cleavage in this way. Because all is stimulated, the muck is rising to the surface where it can be eliminated. All the unconscious motivations of which you are unaware are doing their harm without your being aware of why you are doing certain things. When they come to the surface, you can make your choices and get rid of them. What is happening right now is a perfect example of this. The evil of deep-rooted racism has risen to the surface, and we all have to really look at it. It's not just racism, but that is coming to the surface, but it's also the effects of greed and political corruption around the world. In 2010, Maitreya began giving television interviews in the guise of an ordinary man calling for justice and freedom for all. He's incognito right now because if he were to say who he really was, that would distort how people would perceive him and react to his ideas. And he wants to see people's honest responses. He has been gradually making known his concerns and presenting his solutions to the world's problems. Millions have seen his interviews in the following countries: US, Mexico, Brazil, Russia, China, Japan, Indonesia, Vietnam, Malaysia, India, and more countries as he continues to do these interviews. According to Creme, he is becoming known for his analysis of the world's needs. And when enough people are responding to what he has to say, and they're wondering who he really is and how he knows so much, Maitreya will be asked to speak to the entire world. The event when he speaks to the entire world and reveals his true identity will be known as the Day of Declaration. On this day, he will give humanity a collective experience, the likes of which has never taken place before in all of human history. He will speak to the entire world through linked satellite networks, and his message will be experienced on many levels. Firstly, his face will appear on the screen, but his mouth will not be moving. Everyone, age 14 and older, will hear him telepathically in his or her own language. At the same time, Maitreya will flood humanity with his energy of love, as if to embrace the whole world. This will elicit a heartfelt response and understanding into what he will be saying. In addition, there will be thousands of miraculous healings. Maitreya will give us a brief synopsis of our very, very long history on Earth, showing us how ancient we are as a human race, and from what spiritual height we have descended down into this current materiality. He will show us that we are inherently divine, and he will give us an experience of our divinity. Maitreya will then challenge that divinity by outlining the problems, the major problems in the world that we need to address. He will talk about the need to share the resources of the world fairly and show us what the future could be like if we did. He will present us with a choice: continue with the competitive, market-driven, divide and conquer modes, or accept his guidance and learn to cooperate and share. One choice will lead to annihilation. The other choice will bring us into a transformed and beautiful civilization. So through the telepathic link with humanity, his outpouring of love that people will feel physically, and the miraculous healings, will he demonstrate the power and nature of who he is, Maitreya, the world teacher, for the entire age of Aquarius. Our response to this choice will determine the whole future of the earth. If we accept his guidance, he and the masters will help us create a system to share the world's resources. Each country will be asked to take stock of what it produces and what it needs. Anything produced in excess of a country's needs would be made over to a common pool for the rest of the world. From this common pool, the needs of all could be met. A United Nations agency would be created and overseen by a master to distribute the resources according to need, and a crash aid program for the starving will be the very first priority. To create the new Aquarian structures, blueprints, developed by the advanced disciples working with masters, already exist. They cover all areas of life in political, economic, education, healthcare, agriculture, and many more. These plans, these blueprints will be revealed by them and implemented by us. Also, of top priority is to rehabilitate the planet. To make these changes possible, Maitreya will galvanize, unify, and focus the many fragmented activist groups, strengthen the voice of the people, and make the demands for justice and peace so powerful that the resistors won't be able to obstruct these demands from being met anymore. The teachings for the New Age include removing the distortions that have formed around the previous teachings and clarifying the intended meanings. By example, Maitreya and the Masters will give us a deeper understanding into the powerful, active magnetic force called love. We will develop unconditional love and goodwill for one another. They will teach us the laws of life, and we will come to understand how we are responsible for our thoughts, words, and actions. They will teach us how to evolve and how to be responsible for the lower kingdoms. School education will transition from the current job-oriented approach to a more holistic curriculum on all aspects of how to live. These teachings and their application to life would bring us into an era of peace and tranquility where everyone in every country has a dignified quality of life. New technologies would be revealed to us that would change our lives immensely. There's something called the technology of light that would make it possible to neutralize our toxic waste and give us unlimited power from the sun to supply the world's energy needs. This technology, however, is so powerful that it will not be given to us until we have done away with the practice of war for good. When the Masters see that humanity is ready, it will be revealed to us. Until then, other sustainable, harmless forms of energy will be used. I have just described a very different world from the one we currently exist in. Does this world sound like the kind you would want to live in? If so, what are you willing to do to get there? We certainly can't get there by staying the same or trying to go back to how things were in the past. We are being called upon to see and accept the effects of our actions and change our ways, both individually and collectively. We must begin to see ourselves as one humanity and act accordingly. The multitude of crises that we face now gives us the opportunity to change direction and shows us the dire necessity of doing so. When Maitreya presents his solutions, nothing can actually happen unless we accept and implement them of our own free will. We have his help, but we're the ones who will have to push for and create these new systems. It also entails letting go of what no longer serves us, which may be a difficult thing to do because of our attachments and conditioning. Maitreya said, "My coming portends change, likewise grief over the loss of old structures. But my friends, the old bottles must be broken. The new wine deserves better." When asked what would happen to us if we picked the other choice, destroying ourselves and our planet, Benjamin Creme answered that our souls would be shipped to a very cold and dark planet at the outer edges of the solar system, and that life there would be very hard, endlessly painful, and bereft of any spiritual stimulation. Maitreya knows which path we will choose. In the 11th message he gave through Benjamin Creme, he said, "My heart tells me your answer, your choice, and is glad." There are enough people who will accept this new direction. In the year 2000, Mr. Creme's master said that there were 1.5 billion people of goodwill, altruistic, and ready for new structures. In 2006, that number increased to 1.8 billion. Since Benjamin's passing in 2016, we no longer have direct access to the master's information, but after 14 more years, it's likely that that number has increased to well over 2 billion, if not more. People have been waking up to the need for change at a seemingly accelerated rate. The evidence is in the rise of people who are speaking out on the need to change and are willing to stand up to power. So the strength of Aquarian energy grows daily. The energies are continuing to flood the planet, producing effects. The muck must continue to rise to the surface and be faced. Events and crises will continue to unfold. Maitreya and the Masters are helping us in every way that they can. We will see them soon. This is what is happening in the world. So that is my talk. Thank you very much for joining us. And let me just stop sharing my screen. Hello, everyone. If there are questions, Jim and Judy and Max are fielding the questions from the chat, I think.
Well, there's one question, Camille, that has come on already, and that is, when will the Masters introduce themselves to the world?
That, I believe that will happen after the day of declaration, after Maitreya reveals himself.
Many of them are already in the world, but that's when
Yes.
they introduce themselves, yes.
Yes, there are a number of them in the world who've already come from their retreats. They are stationed in near major cities, and they are working behind the scenes still.
Can you speak a bit about the role of the Space Brothers? This is a question in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, around 2008, Benjamin Creme announced that there was going to be a star-like luminary in the sky that would be visible to people around the world. And it was a bright light that resembled a star, but it was too close. It was too close to be a star. And when people looked at it through a zoom lens or something, they would see that the light was actually changing and flickering colors, changing patterns. And these are spaceships from our neighboring planet, because according to our information, all the planets in our solar system are inhabited, but that life happens at a different level. It happens at the etheric level as opposed to the solid, dense physical level, because it would otherwise be inhospitable. These, we call them Space Brothers. They are here. The star is like the Star of Bethlehem from 2,000 years ago. It's meant as a sign to herald the coming of the next teacher. They are harmless. They are well-wishers. They are helping humanity. And one of the things that the Space Brothers do within the law of karma is that they use their technology, their superior technology, to clean up some of the pollution that we create, especially the nuclear pollution that occurs at levels that we cannot even detect.
Terry asks, will anybody be taking the place of Mr. Creme?
No, I don't think so. No, I believe, I think that this unfolding of events and Maitreya's coming forward will be happening very soon. Benjamin Creme was a very unique and remarkable individual. He was spiritually advanced. He was quite advanced. And in order for a master to work with somebody, they have to be at a certain level. And the people at that level are They're few and far between. There are maybe 400 in the world at a similar level from him. But no, Benjamin Creme spent 40 years talking extensively about this story, of which there are many facets to. And he's written many books. There are a lot of books. There's a lot of information in those books. There's way more than anyone could fit into a presentation. So if you find yourself intrigued, you want to learn more about who Maitreya and the Masters are and what their plans are and how humanity can change and how it needs to change. It talks about all that in great depth.
There's another question.
Yes.
Is Share International working with the UN or other politically active groups to correct us, or is it only providing information and waiting for the Masters?
We are an educational nonprofit organization, so our primary mission is to tell people about Maitreya. So our values are similar to some of what the UN is doing and other organizations. And the volunteers, all of the people who work with Share International are volunteers. A lot of them work with other organizations as well on the side. But what we do is unique, and it requires, we're just presenting information that people can accept or not.
I can just add something that, as you said, most people who are involved with Share International are very socially and politically active. And so they participate in other groups, helping out, just doing things that would sort of promote Maitreya's priorities that aren't necessarily just within Share International, because it has the same concepts and the same focus. So, and another point, just to tag on to this a little bit, is that when you say in waiting for the Masters are here already, but they're not here to wave a magic wand and change the world. They're here to guide and inspire us, but it's up to us, humanity, to do the work. So all of us, including the volunteers from Share International, it's incumbent upon them to do the work to change the world.
Benjamin Creme also introduced a way to help with these transitions through a type of meditation. And this is a group meditation. It's called transmission meditation. And that is one activity that Share International volunteers do. And it helps to bring the energies through, the energies that the Masters and Maitreya are pouring in to the world. There are a lot of different kinds. And we help to step them down during this meditations so that it's at a lower vibration and can be of greater impact in our world. The energies are very high on their own, and they would bounce off the planet and not do its thing. So we step them down so they can be useful. And then the Masters send the energies to where they are needed. It's done in a group of 3 or more. It's very easy to do. And I encourage people to give it a try, really.
We all know from science that we're living in an energetic universe, and there are these tremendous, powerful energies, cosmic, solar, extraplanetary, that are impinging on the planet all the time. And the masters are the custodians of these energies as they're entering the planet. And they work with these energies, scientifically balancing them and sending them into the world to help humanity evolve and serve the plan of evolution. And meditators in a group, transmission meditation, we are working directly with the masters in as Camille said, stepping down these energies and sending them into the world where they're most needed. It's a little difficult now because we usually meet at people's houses physically. That's one of the important things about transmission meditation. But because of the situation we're in now, we are holding Zoom meetings where we're getting together and doing the meditation together, but online, until the time we can get together again.
Before I go any further, I just want to say, it's in the comments, but I'll read it. Share International Northeast maintains an email list that is used to keep people informed about our events and activities. We don't share this list with any other parties. If you would like your name added to our list, please send your request along with your name to the email address of James Weaver, and you can see that in the chat. You can also use the same email address if you're interested in joining a transmission meditation group. We have them on, which days is it? Thursdays, Sundays, Fridays. Four different days, I think. There are 4 different groups on different days and times. Some are in the morning, some are in the evening. And we'll send that information to you privately if you're interested. Yeah, so how do people feel about doing maybe a 10-minute transmission meditation? It entails really, we're going to say something called the Great Invocation, and I'll put that up on the screen before we start.
This was given by Maitreya in 1945 after the wars. And it's a way of invoking, as it says, the Great Invocation, invoking the energies of the masters so they know we're here and they will start to pour the energies in.
We say it, a little slowly at not too slow, but at a slow pace. And then we put our attention here. This point between the eyebrows is called the Ajna center. When you have your attention here, that creates an alignment between you and your soul, your higher self. And then when you are in alignment, the masters can pour energy through you. And that's all you have to do, is to hold your attention here as much as you can. I said that we say something called the Great Invocation. So this is a Great Invocation. We'll have like a little pause between the stanzas. And I guess I'll say it. We can all say it, but I'll set the pace. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth.
That's it.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming and for staying all the way through to the end and doing the meditation. Like I said, if you want to find out about our meditation groups, email James and he will give you the Zoom links. Yeah, there.
Everybody stay safe and have a good rest of the evening.
Yes, and thank you, Max and Jim and Judy, for your help.
Great
Everyone have a great evening.